In the 4th year of our marriage, Vincent, encouraged by a friend, secretly kept a beautiful painter as his mistress. That day, I overheard him arguing with his friend. Zoey is about to cause a scene in front of Evelyn. You guys pushed her on me in the first place, now you have to deal with it. Someone asked him, if you had to choose Vincent, which one do you want us to take care of? Vincent hesitated for 2 seconds, then said, Zoey is very different. Before the plane took off, I unexpectedly overheard 2 girls in the row ahead talking. Who? Who are you talking about? Your boyfriend is Vincent? Are you kidding? His status is so high. Besides, he has a great relationship with his wife, don't brag. I don't have time to mess around with you. The girl being questioned snorted coldly, then took out her laptop and opened a folder called Boyfriend. If you don't believe me, see for yourself. We've been together for half a year, and he's like a completely different person compared to the one in the financial magazines. After saying this, the girl smiled shyly, her expression full of meaning. No, it really is Vincent. How did you two meet? When asked about her love story, the girl grew even more proud. You know my situation, I come from a poor family, with younger siblings to take care of, and my mom bedridden. To support my family and pay for tuition, I often have to work part-time. I met Vincent at the bar where I was working part-time. Our boss even helped set us up. After we got to know each other, Vincent started asking me out all the time. He didn't just send me flowers and diamonds, he also organized my solo art exhibition. Even this trip to France was paid for by him. So, what do you think? Not bad, right? Want me to introduce you to some of his friends too? After she finished speaking, her friends sighed. No, I don't need that. It's obvious you're just being kept by a sugar daddy. I advise you to turn back before it's too late. Otherwise, you won't be able to handle the fallout. Besides, you're just the other woman. Do you really expect him to leave his wife and kids for you? What a joke. Vincent's only interested in you because you're pretty and fun, just a novelty for a couple of days. Sooner or later, he'll dump you. Hearing this, the girl immediately became unhappy. Ha, don't be so sure. The Vincent you're talking about is already completely under my control. Getting him to divorce is just a matter of a few words from me. Then, the next second, she pulled out her phone and made a call. The other end picked up instantly. Who's this? Hearing the cold male voice, she pretended to be a little spoiled and coquettishly said, Vincent, you don't love me anymore, do you? You can't even recognize my voice? I knew it, you're just a two-faced scumbag. I'm never going to bother with you again. At that moment, I heard Vincent say something he had never said in front of me before. No, baby, I was just in a meeting and didn't notice it was you calling. I'm sorry, it's my fault. What compensation do you want? A bag or jewelry? I'll buy you anything. By the way, didn't you say you wanted to hold your own exhibition in Paris? I've already arranged for people to prepare it. Next time, I'll personally take you there. You can arrange the paintings however you want. I've also invited many famous masters, including those few you've always admired. So, baby, please don't be angry, okay? With every word the man on the other end said, the girl's expression grew more and more smug. Her friend beside her looked increasingly shocked. Even I felt a chill in my heart after seeing this unknown side of Vincent. Until the girl said something extremely arrogant, her friend suddenly screamed out loud. Are you crazy? How dare you go looking for Evelyn? She's Vincent's legally wedded wife. Don't go too far, okay? Even if we're best friends, that doesn't mean I can tolerate you going after the original wife. Behave yourself, all right? I don't want to see your face on the news one day. The girl was smug, completely ignoring her friend's advice, and even flaunted more openly. What? Are you scared? I said if I can make Vincent divorce for me, I definitely can make him divorce for me. Just wait and see, when I rise to fame and fortune, I won't forget you. Then, they stopped talking, but suddenly I received a message on my phone. Evelyn, when do you land? I'll send someone to pick you up. It was from Vincent. I said, aren't you free? Vincent replied instantly, I have a few meetings to attend. I've arranged for Harper to wait for you at the airport. At the same time, the girl from before exclaimed happily, my boyfriend is coming to pick me up at the airport himself. Honey, you go back to school by yourself. When I got off the plane, sure enough, it was the familiar Harper standing in front of the car holding a bouquet of lilies. From a distance, he greeted me with an outstretched hand, then took my suitcase and the scarf in my hand. Then, as usual, he made excuses for Vincent. Madam, Vincent suddenly had several meetings added and really couldn't find time to pick you up. But Vincent specifically instructed me to first take you to your usual Cantonese restaurant for a bowl of soup, then to browse the luxury stores before sending you home. I replied with a simple good, and just as I was about to get in the car, I heard Vincent's voice. Baby, how was your trip to France this time? Did you have fun? Where do you want to go next, Italy or Los Angeles? I looked up, but Harper quickly held up a bouquet of lilies, blocking my view. Madam, it's chilly outside, please get in the car and warm up. I calmly sat inside the car, and right behind me came a girl's voice, tinged with petulant anger. I'm not going anywhere. I want to find Evelyn, I want to confess to her. If you don't dare to say divorce, I'll say it for you. You stopped loving her a long time ago. She's the one holding you back. Why do you endure a loveless marriage? I care about you, Vincent. We are the ones truly in love. The unloved one is the mistress. Please let her go. As she spoke, the girl began to cry. Vincent, usually so poised and aloof, suddenly lost his composure. He hurriedly soothed her, all right, I'll find time to talk to her about divorce. Please don't cry, okay? Then they seemed to say something else, but Harper had already started the car, and I didn't catch it all. I only saw through the rearview mirror that they kissed. At 8 in the evening, Hugo suggested holding a welcome party for me. He was a well-known playboy in the circle. He said it was a gathering arranged for me, but in reality, it was just an excuse to bring together those beautiful women and handsome men. Vincent had a habit of keeping a kept woman, which only started after he met Hugo. At first, I turned a blind eye. Everyone around me said that in our circle, it's common for men to keep mistresses. As long as it doesn't affect the interests of the two families, and as long as the man doesn't bring up divorce or division of assets, there's no need to make a big fuss. Some even said that we women could learn to be a bit more open-minded like the men. Otherwise, life would be unbearable, constantly waiting and hoping every day. Even my mother, though she didn't focus on finding a younger boyfriend, found other pleasures. She played mahjong with a group of wealthy wives, where winning and losing was just part of the game. She often advised me that since things had come to this point, I shouldn't keep up appearances anymore. If I could divorce gracefully, then do so. If not, at least clear my mind and let some fresh air in, so I wouldn't be so tightly wound that I'd end up making myself sick. I didn't listen to her and look for another man. First, because work at the company was too busy, I had just taken office and was overwhelmed. Secondly, it was purely my own wishful thinking. Like a foolish woman, I believed Vincent was just playing around and wouldn't get emotionally involved with a woman he had just met. But in reality, things never go the way I hope. He really fell for her. This marriage, at this point, was slipping beyond my control. I've always been the type to bang my head against the wall until I bleed before I give up. Since it's really come to this, whether it's marriage or love, if he can't be loyal to me alone, then so be it. Vincent made an excuse that he had something to do and couldn't attend my welcome party. But when it was about to end, he still showed up. Only, the first thing he did after arriving was not to come find me. Instead, in front of everyone, he grabbed Hugo by the neck and headed to the bathroom. I had just finished an online meeting and happened to overhear their conversation. Hugo, this has gotten out of hand. Zoey insists on confronting Evelyn, no matter how I try to calm her down. Didn't you say people like her can be pacified with some money? Zoey's not saying the same as you, she's determined to face Evelyn head-on. What do you want me to do? If you hadn't insisted on secretly keeping a woman, I wouldn't be in this mess today. What now? You caused this trouble, you deal with it yourself. The more they talked, the angrier Vincent got, and he punched him outright. Instantly, blood appeared from Hugo's nose. Naturally, Hugo wasn't one to back down. He licked the blood with the tip of his tongue, then smiled and said, "Vincent, others can juggle lovers and wives at the same time, why can't you? Or is it that you've really fallen for her, letting a college girl who hasn't even graduated have you wrapped around her finger?" Vincent said nothing. The few seconds of silence gave Hugo his answer. He snorted disdainfully and held up 2 fingers. "Choose one, Vincent. Which one do you want me to help you deal with?" Upon hearing this, Vincent hesitated for a few seconds, looking troubled as he stared at Hugo. Zoey is very different. She can give me what Evelyn can't, and I'm happy when I'm with her. But Evelyn has been with me for so long, even though it was an arranged marriage, there are feelings there. Besides, she's really outstanding at work and has helped me many times. To be honest, I'm having a hard time deciding. Hugo sneered. Got it. You want both, huh? No problem, this kind of thing is child's play. Hearing the satisfactory answer, a smile finally appeared on Vincent's face. As he was about to turn back, his eyes suddenly flickered, and he froze on the spot. Hugo lit a cigarette and joked, "What's up? Vincent's got his eye on someone else again? Let me see if she's even prettier than Zoey." Then, before Hugo could finish, he followed Vincent's gaze. "Sister-in-law, sister-in-law?" I calmly responded with a nod. Then I closed my laptop and said, "Hugo, you don't need to help him deal with me. I'll leave on my own." Then my gaze fell on Vincent, who remained expressionless. "I'll have the divorce papers arranged by the secretary tomorrow. Vincent, please review them when the time comes." Evelyn, The first time I saw Vincent cheating with my own eyes, I had just returned home from working late. I called out the nanny's name a few times, but there was no response. However, from the bedroom upstairs came the faint clinking of glass. From the sound, I knew it was Vincent's favorite bohemian crystal glass. Every time he used that crystal glass to mix whiskey, his fingertips would trace delicate halos around the rim. He never dared to use it unless he was in an exceptionally good mood, then he would take it out and play with it for a while. As I climbed the stairs, I wondered if he had landed a new research project. Otherwise, why would he be so happy as to bring out that set of glasses? But when I stopped and peeked through the crack in the door to see the scene inside, my whole body instantly froze as if encased in ice. That doll-like girl was kneeling between Vincent's legs, wearing my Chanel robe. Her 2 pale legs were wrapped around his waist, and her fingers were twisting his tie playfully. I stepped back 2 paces, staggered a few times before regaining my footing. Vincent was always alert. Hearing the noise, he quickly lifted the girl off himself and rushed over to me. "Evelyn? You? Why are you back? Didn't you say you had a shareholders meeting the next day and would be sleeping at the office?" Indeed, I had said that. But I was worried he wouldn't take care of himself with his stomach condition acting up. So I decided on the spur of the moment to come back and cook him some porridge, planning to return to the office after he was sound asleep. All these years, every time he had a relapse, he could only drink the meals I cooked for him. I cared for him like this, but what about him? Just to have a private world with that woman, he actually deceived me. The anger inside me burst out uncontrollably, and I slapped him hard across the face. "Vincent, you weren't like this before." I held back my tears, looking at him, trying to hear a reasonable explanation from his mouth. But he didn't give one. there was only a fleeting moment of shame, quickly covered by an expression of entitlement. That was before. But now everyone's like this. Look at which entrepreneur doesn't have a few flings around them. Besides, I only keep one mistress, not like your father, 3 at home and 5 abroad. Ha, and is it because I don't earn enough to support you? So you have to mingle with other men in the world of fame and fortune? Every day you're circling around a bunch of men, saying it's meetings, but what you're really doing, as a man, I know better than anyone. He sneered disdainfully, then shouted with full grievance. Evelyn, I've already given you enough face, didn't force you to stay home and be a housewife, didn't force you to give up your career. For the sake of how much I've indulged you, can't you just endure it like those other wives? Besides, look at what other wives are doing. What are you doing? Can't you reflect on yourself? Why do I have to find women outside? It's all because of you. What are other wives doing? Playing mahjong. Shopping for bags, buying luxury goods. Having more children, raising children, continuing to have and raise children. And also, raising children for their husbands' mistresses. So, everyone is the same. I just didn't give up my career. Does that make me a rebel? He didn't give me a clear solution. He just told me to reflect on myself, and then he didn't come home for a long time. During that time, I kept hearing news of him attending various banquets and parties with his beloved woman. He even spent a fortune opening a gallery for her. Every day, he switched luxury cars to pick her up and drop her off at class. He let her put on a grand show. He made me lose all face. Their relationship was like a transparent card, openly displayed in our social circle. But the funny thing was, no one found it strange, instead, it became the norm. One wife said, the more glamorous and eye-catching the appearance, the more full of holes the relationship is. Just wait, your Vincent will get tired of her soon. Within 3 months, he'll definitely dump that woman. You, as Vincent's wife, need to have a bigger vision and not be so petty and needle-sharp in your mind, or you'll become a laughingstock. Come on, we're one short, join us for a few rounds of mahjong first. I don't know how to play mahjong, but my mom sure does. She's famously fond of playing, staying out all day and night just to get in a few more rounds. Even when she found out that I was going through the same kind of marriage as she was, she still chuckled and teased me with a smile. Then let Mom teach you how to be the queen of the mahjong table. Listen, darling, marriage is just like mahjong, you have to play the hand you're dealt with dignity, whether it's a bad hand or a good one. Don't make a scene that embarrasses yourself and gives others something to laugh at. Come on, let Mom see your luck, draw a tile for me. Then, my mom took my hand and drew a 9 of circles. Instantly, she burst out laughing. You've got a winning hand, quick, pay up. Haha, my daughter's got the hands for mahjong. After that, she really tried to teach me how to play mahjong. But I wasn't interested, after just a few rounds, I had lost all her money. She wasn't upset, just looked at me with concern and said, it's just a pastime for passing the time, if you can't learn it, that's fine. If you have something else to focus on, then go do your own thing. Don't be like us, fooling ourselves and wasting the rest of our lives. But at that time, I didn't understand what she meant. I kept going out after work, running into the circles of wealthy wives. I thought if I could learn their mindset, maybe my marriage could hold steady too. If he wanted to find women outside, then let him. As long as he knew to come home, and that I was his real wife, that would be enough. But for half a year, I hadn't heard any news about Vincent getting tired of her. In fact, he seemed even better to that woman. That's when I started to panic. When I asked the other wives what I should do, they avoided my gaze and explained, well, we didn't realize your Vincent was such a hopeless romantic. If it really doesn't work out, just have him bring Sanner back home. These things are pretty common in our circle. Just like your mom. Once my mom was mentioned, they fell silent. They quickly shuffled the cards and found excuses to leave. Seeing how hard Vincent was trying to balance our relationship now, I thought maybe it was time to let go. I didn't have to keep this marriage going. I had said before, as long as that scale could tip decisively in my favor, I could endure anything. But now it was clear that woman named Zoey had completely captivated him. I was confused for half a year, but I couldn't stay confused forever. From now on, we'd go our separate ways. After Zoey learned I agreed to the divorce, she immediately threw an art exhibition to celebrate. She invited many people from the circle, including me. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of the Zoey gallery, watching the rain slide down the glass and hit the ground. Inside the room, right beside me, was a photo of Vincent and Zoey kissing by the seaside. Besides that one, the other photos showed similar scenes. Vincent holding Zoey's waist, the two of them kissing under the grape arbors of a private winery. Even my marital bed, my swimming pool, and my office appeared in this exhibition. Zoey was young and full of arrogance, adept at acting innocent after getting her way. It was hard not to feel annoyed watching her. So, what do you think? Like my new art exhibition? Zoey challenged me, the sweet scent of freesia drifting from her. She wore a mint green chiffon dress, with an emerald gemstone necklace around her neck. With just one glance, I recognized it as the necklace I had bought at an auction 2 years ago for $3 million. She was used to stealing my things, but this time she even dared to wear it in front of me. Without a word, I raised my hand and tore the necklace off. Soon, a bright red mark was left on her neck. Zoey clutched her neck in terror, screaming, "Evelyn, this is my art exhibition, what are you trying to do?" Instantly, everyone's attention turned to us. I calmly walked over to the trash can and threw the broken necklace inside. How could you throw it away? $3 million, you know. Zoey's reaction was utterly ungraceful. She pushed Vincent aside and hurried to the trash can to retrieve it. When she found it, she let out a heavy sigh. I lowered my eyebrows and looked down on her from above, saying, "You want to fight over men, you want to steal necklaces. Do you really like trash that much?" Zoey pretended not to understand my sarcasm. She turned and linked arms with Vincent, continuing to glare at me with a provocative tone. "Don't like these photos?" They were all picked out by Vincent, oh no, I mean my husband, personally. She deliberately emphasized the last sentence, making sure everyone knew that Mrs. Vincent already had a new choice. I smiled as I gently stroked the edge of the photo frame. "You two really are a perfect match. But are you sure these photos won't become evidence in court?" Zoey's face first showed confusion, then quickly turned pale. What do you mean?" I took out a USB drive from my bag, ready to hand it over to the lawyer, and waved it in front of her. "Zoey, Vincent and I aren't divorced yet. This contains proof of his infidelity during the marriage, including surveillance footage from the private club and underground parking garage. And this flawless art exhibition can all serve as evidence to make Vincent leave with nothing." After speaking, I sneered coldly, mocking her. "Do you really think the Vincent family is so powerful that he can cheat during the marriage and still split the assets evenly? Ha, maybe you should read more. Every penny he spent on you is half mine. The designer bags, clothes, and houses bought for you were all purchased with our marital assets. That Prada shimmering dress you're wearing right now included. As long as I want, you could be out the door naked. But I don't want another woman parading her bare body on the streets of Shanghai. Consider it my mercy on you, I'm giving it to you. As for the rest of the money spent on you, you'll pay me back every cent." Zoey was clearly intimidated by my aura. After all, she was a rookie, able to win Vincent's heart with her youth and beauty. But to control me, she still had a lot to learn. Before leaving, I threw a divorce agreement in front of Vincent. "Evelyn, let me explain." I cut him off. "Explain what?" "Explain how you used our joint assets to keep a mistress on the side? Or explain why your bank statements show a dozen large transfers to a female college student named Zoey? Or maybe explain why your private doctor traveled thousands of kilometers just to treat the leg of a 60-year-old stranger in the countryside? Vincent, know when to quit. Don't force me to lay bare everything you've done with her behind closed doors. There was a flicker of fear in his eyes, but it quickly gave way to his usual arrogance. You think this can threaten me? I said, it's not a threat, it's a notice. Otherwise, this evidence will be all over the major media by tomorrow. Those reporters are just waiting to witness the fall of a legend, and the one who brings down the legend is a woman barely out of her 20s. That'll be enough to make the other elites in the business world laugh for a while. Saying this, I looked at Zoey and lowered my voice. And the girl you adore will be torn apart by the media and netizens. How she seduced you, how she moved on you, all of it will be exaggerated and twisted into a negative portrayal online. Didn't she want to hold an art exhibition, become a painter? Looks like she won't get the chance in this lifetime. Oh, by the way, you probably don't know. You think this gifted young painter has ever touched a paintbrush? If you don't believe me, ask her who actually created her proudest piece, Blooming. As soon as I finished speaking, before Vincent could question me, Zoey panicked. She grabbed a girl's shoulder and cried out. You said that? We're best friends. No, setting friendship aside, do you think my high price can't keep you quiet? If it weren't for me, you couldn't even afford a cup of coffee in Shanghai with these paintings. The girl being grabbed broke free from her wrist and shouted back. I warned you long ago, you can't beat Evelyn. You refused to listen, and now look where you are, it's your own fault, not mine. Zoey didn't respond to her words but instead asked directly, how much did she pay you? The girl held up 3 fingers. 3 million. Zoey gave a bitter laugh. Haha, fine, 3 million and I'll send you on your way. Our friendship ends here. Then, she glanced nervously at Vincent. But Vincent looked like he had just been hit by a major scam. His eyes were wide, staring at Zoey, his expression awkward. I understood the emotions beneath his face. He felt humiliated. Because just before this exhibition started, he had proudly introduced her to several art world elites. These are Zoey's most satisfying works, each one embodying her unique understanding of life. Taking Zoey as an apprentice is definitely a good deal. But now, this scene was a slap in the face. Everyone, sorry, Zoey is feeling a bit unwell. Vincent sensed this farce couldn't be salvaged, so he threw out an excuse. Unwell? Or are you afraid those dark secrets will be exposed to the public? Vincent's eyes signaled me to stop stirring trouble. Of course, I ignored him. How this farce ended was up to me. Then, I gave a look to the assistant behind me, and suddenly a video began playing on the big screen. In a dim studio, a girl with 2 braided pigtails was vigorously painting, the sunflowers under her brush matching the piece displayed in the gallery. Zoey sat beside me, scrolling through her phone while occasionally throwing in a few comments. Evelyn, enough. How far do you plan to take this? So what if Zoey's work is fake? She's so young, of course she can make mistakes. Vincent shouted at me, and Zoey collapsed weakly to the floor in response. It was clear Vincent had known all along that Zoey's work was fake, yet he still protected her. The showroom fell into a heavy silence after his outburst, with only Zoey's sobbing echoing in the air. I looked coldly at the scene before me. I had originally exposed Zoey's secret to embarrass her, but now it seemed I was the one making a fool of myself. Watching them, disheveled yet still deeply entwined, my heart had indeed grown cold long ago. Finally, after the guests had left, I slowly stood up. Their happiest group photo seemed to mock me. Lost, huh? I nodded, it was a loss. No more love from now on. When I pushed the property division agreement in front of my mother, the phoenix tree leaves outside the floor-to-ceiling window rustled in the autumn wind. This 28-page document was bound with a shattered diamond brooch, repurposed from the wedding ring Vincent had given me. Isn't this divorce settlement a bit too much? My mother adjusted her gold-rimmed glasses, her finger tracing the paper as a hint of doubt crept into her voice. Then she slowly flipped through the pages, which listed clause after clause. 49% of the group's shares, leaving Vincent with just 1%. 3 prime office buildings and 7 ocean-going cargo ships, all transferred into Evelyn's private trust fund. And the bloom painting by Zoey that Vincent bought at a high price is now quietly lying in my private gallery, slashed all over with knife cuts. I twisted the titanium steel ring on my finger and said 2 words calmly. Not much. My mom looked at me worriedly but didn't say anything more. I continued, I'm gathering evidence of the Vincent family laundering money overseas. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be a clear answer in the second half of the year. My mom's hand trembled as she held the teacup, brown tea stains splashing onto the emotional distress compensation section of the agreement. It was filled in with 100 million yuan, followed by 7 zeros. My mom was silent for a long time, then studied me carefully before saying, "You really look like your dad when he was young. He couldn't stand to lose even a little." She reached out to touch my head but froze when her fingers touched my hair. "But you and I are different. I don't dare to want anything, not a thing." I put the agreement back into the safe. "So you vent your resentment every day by playing mahjong." The moment the cabinet door closed, my gaze sharpened even more. "Mom. I never wanted to live the kind of life you have. Really, it's rotten to the core. Go ask him for a divorce. From now on, I'll support you." Zoey's gallery hung a sign announcing a temporary closure for reorganization. The paintings she had completed through ghost artists were debunked by experts, and the collectors who had bought them at high prices at auction were jointly sued. The jewelry and diamonds Vincent had once given her were either returned to me or seized by the court to settle debts. Someone captured a video of her being chased at school. The Cartier bracelet was replaced with a cheap trinket from a street stall, and her hair was tangled and messy, like a ball of torn yarn. The most ironic part was that she had originally copied me by growing her hair long. Now, creditors and strangers who hated the mistress had pulled out most of it, revealing a mottled, bloody, and raw scalp. Later, the sign in front of that street gallery changed from closed for reorganization to low-price sale. The house that was originally worth 5 million could now be bought for 1 million. I decisively invested. After all, the location of that gallery was truly excellent. As a businessperson, how could I not seize such an opportunity? So, I spent 1 million to buy it, but in no time, Zoey returned that 1 million to me. After all, what she owed me was far more than that. After acquiring the property, I began extensive renovations. I transformed the originally cozy gallery into the Clear Mind art space. This was somewhat different from traditional exhibition venues. It resembled a mental fortress and a social experiment site. I had seen similar exhibitions in Paris before. The theme was breaking the shackles on women and pursuing selfhood. This place is not just an art exhibition, it is more of an educational base for women's self-awareness and awakening. It inspires every woman to break free from the shackles of worldly emotions and to rebuild a new life from the fragments. And Vincent, this arrogant business genius, now paces outside my conference room door every day. He tries to persuade me to leave him some way out in business, not to make things too final. But every time, I shrug off his hand and then cast a look of utter disdain at him. "Vincent, nowadays, even looking at you feels like a waste of time. Please don't come anymore, okay? You destroyed your own way out. What does that have to do with me? Why don't you follow those bankrupt young masters and visit underground casinos and erotic bars? Maybe you'll find a way out there." Vincent did go to underground casinos looking for a way out. But he wasn't there to gamble, he was there to borrow money. He wanted to make a comeback, but he needed at least 50 million. The bank wouldn't lend to him, and none of his shady friends could come up with that kind of money. So, he went to the underground casino to borrow. My mother has a soft heart. When she found out Vincent was borrowing money from those people, she came to the company to persuade me. Zoey, after all, you were once married, she said. He's really in a tough spot now, help him out. My mother likes Vincent a lot. The main reason is that when she had a sudden heart attack, Vincent immediately called his private doctor, who saved her life. Since then, the more my mother looked at this son-in-law, the more she liked him. Perhaps Vincent truly had the talent to be an entrepreneur. After securing the high-interest loan, he managed to make a comeback in just 3 short months. Everyone said, Vincent was once brilliant, he couldn't have fallen so fast. They also said, Evelyn is just a woman. The only reason she's doing well in the market now is because Vincent always considers their marital ties and goes easy on her. Now that Evelyn has cut things off completely, Vincent can no longer show any leniency. Some even, seeing Vincent's business rise again, were willing to pay me a hefty penalty for breach of contract just to work under Vincent like a beast of burden. I didn't take it seriously, so what? I'm not short of his investment. But Vincent is not the confident, spirited man everyone thinks he is. I've inquired about his current situation. The money he's making isn't even enough to cover the interest on the high-interest loan. Even Zoey, the one he once doted on, can't afford to pay her 2,000 tuition fees. That day, he was being chased by the loan shark's henchmen. I saw him trembling in the basement of the winery. The winery's steward told me Vincent had been hiding there for a week. Out of gratitude for Vincent's past kindness, he helped keep him hidden from me, letting Vincent stay out of sight. If I hadn't suddenly decided to grab a bottle of red wine, Vincent might have been able to hide a little longer. I stood on the stairs in my high heels, looking down on him from above. Mr. Vincent, please leave. This is a private winery, we do not admit outsiders. Vincent looked haggard, pressed his lips together, and said, Evelyn, I'm sorry. I never intended for things to come to this, I said coldly. Yes, you really never intended that, I continued. The picture you imagined was you with one arm around Zoey's waist, the other controlling the entire market's stock prices. You want both money and women, isn't that the scene you wanted? You still don't regret meeting Zoey. What you regret is not hiding Zoey a little deeper. After saying that, I gave him one last look of disgust. But out of old feelings, I let him stay for another month. On the 365th day after the divorce, my mom sent me a message. Come home for dinner, honey? My fingers paused over the keyboard, as if recalling something, then I typed back, no. I have a business trip tomorrow. In truth, I had no business trip planned. I just didn't want to see her. My mom still seemed not to understand what my divorce really meant. She didn't even grasp why I urged her to divorce. Every day she stubbornly invited Vincent to our home, trying to get us back together. She didn't care that Vincent now had neither money nor power, nor any sign of remorse. She just wanted life to return to the way it was before. At first, I would argue with her. But now, I'm too lazy to bother. I avoid her when I can, and don't see her if I don't have to. When my mom received my text saying I wouldn't be coming home, she sent a string of messages again. Evelyn, are you sure you don't want to see him one last time? Vincent really regrets it, you should just let it go and forgive him this once. He promised me he would never make the same mistake again. Besides, so what if he has no money or house? Don't you have them? A person only needs a bed to sleep on, why do you need such a fancy house? As long as you two have a good relationship, everything else will be fine. Seeing how obsessed my mom was with Vincent, I told her the truth. Mom, back then Vincent's private doctor was originally supposed to treat my dad's new mistress. They partied non-stop in a hotel for 3 days, and that woman nearly passed out. My dad was worried someone might die, so he had Vincent send the private doctor to the hotel. But unexpectedly, you suddenly had a heart attack nearby. Otherwise, how do you think his private doctor, who was all the way in Paris, suddenly appeared by your side to save your life? Mom, can you be a little more clear-headed? Those men are all in cahoots, none of them are good. Stop flattering them, I'm begging you. After a long silence, my mom didn't reply. The assistant standing beside me spoke cautiously. Zoey. Madam is aware of this. It's me meddling again. I closed my phone and wiped away the last tear at the corner of my eye. Love is the only light that illuminates life. This was the lesson my mother taught me since I was a child. A woman must always cling to a man's shoulder. That was another lesson from her. Even if the man is a withered tree, hollowed out by pests inside, a woman should still quietly entwine herself around his branches. This was her long-standing teaching to me. But now I realize, all of this was just her way of self-delusion. Her advice was merely to prove that her own beliefs were right. But I am not her. I have never thought that love is the only thing in my life. I have other things to do. Like my studies, like my career, like freedom. I also believe I don't have to be a daughter vine clinging to a man's withered tree. I can grow into a towering tree rooted firmly in the earth. Growing alone through wind and rain. I can also hold up a sky for myself and for others. So, Mom, from now on, I won't be a daughter vine. I want to be a cactus. A sunflower. A proud rose. Or a soaring eagle. In short, the mountains are high, the road is long, and the path is arduous. I will definitely live my life beautifully.